Seriously, SpongeBob?
Rock bottom. It sure is weird around here.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Sea Radio. My name is Corbin, and if you hear a little bit of thunder and lightning in this video, it's not sound effects, it's because it's really crappy where I'm at, and that's actually pretty fitting for the tone of this video, because honestly, I really didn't think I'd be making this type of video, especially after that Houston Astros series. I really went into this Royals series with a lot of optimism. Well, that optimism has been stomped out. Not even just stomped out, I mean just a true stampede of bad baseball demolished my optimism after this Royals series. And I'm officially at the point where I think I can call this rock bottom, in my opinion, for the Red Sox this year. And that is what we are going to talk about today. We are painfully talking about this Red Sox series, and we're talking about what types of things that we saw in this series truly highlighted how the Red Sox got into the position that they are in today. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day, even if the Red Sox aren't doing very well. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Now, normally what we do in a bad series is we make a highlight reel of bloopers, of bad plays that the Red Sox made, because for a while, the problem with this Red Sox team was the bad plays. Well, in this series, there weren't a ton of errors to throw into a kind of funny YouTube video. But instead of starting with the offense or the pitching in this series that we're going to highlight, we're going to talk about one person in particular who kind of was a human blooper reel in a singular game of this series, and that's Duran, who in the last game of the series, in a singular game, had 3 minimum fly balls that he either completely whiffed on or should have gotten to that he just simply didn't get to. Now, I'm not going to sit here and I'm going to say that I am an expert outfielder and that I could make those plays if I wanted to, because realistically, if I could, I wouldn't be on YouTube right now. But I do know enough to know that the routes that he is taking to balls is just simply not the routes that a center fielder should be taking. If you're in the major leagues, you're either an elite offensive production type guy where they don't really care what you do on the field because you're gonna make up for it at the plate. And if you're not that type of player, you need to have serviceable defense, and Duran simply does not have that right now, meaning that he is just net negative all around. He truly needs to step it up in the outfield if he wants to continue and be the Red Sox center fielder on a more long-term basis. Also in this same game, he went after one of the fans in Kansas City. Now, he did say that that fan was throwing bottle caps at him, and maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but at the same time, it's one of those things where you kind of need to learn and adapt to fans being aggressive in the stands. I'm not saying that's right at all. I don't think you guys should go out and harass the players on the field, because at the end of the day, they're just trying to do their job. But at the same time too, if you're on that field, you need to learn to block that out, and Duran simply hasn't done that, and something about that does make me really nervous, especially if Kansas City's getting under his skin. I'm really nervous for when he goes to New York or when he goes to Toronto, or even hell, Tampa Bay has been tough at times. So that's definitely something that concerns me. I'm not going to say whether his actions were right or wrong, but I will say that's something that baseball players have dealt with for years and they've learned to deal with as well. And that is our one person human blooper reel for this series. Now let's talk about the offense as a whole. One of the cool things that we're going to talk about in this recap is a lot of the newcomers to this team, the trade deadline moves. And while we can critique Chaim Bloom all we want, the additions at the deadline have been a net positive so far in the small sample size that we've seen. Tommy Pham had his first home run with the Red Sox. It was a 2-run shot and it was absolutely crushed. I mean, it was an absolute bomb. So congratulations, Tommy. Welcome to Boston. Eric Hosmer, another guy who was added at the deadline, made his debut with the Red Sox in Kansas City. Kind of a cool moment where he went back to Kansas City for the first time after, the whole World Series and everything there. So that was a cool moment. He had 2 doubles in this series, a multitude of RBIs. I think it was either 3 or 4, and he was smacking the ball around. I mean, every hit he had looked like it was going to be a home run. He missed a home run by a matter of inches like 3 or 4 times in this series. So I'm kind of excited to see what Hosmer does for the Red Sox. If anything, even if the Red Sox tank this season, his progression with this team will be interesting to watch. JD Martinez has started to get his contact back after he's been slumping for a while. He had a couple doubles, a couple singles with a couple RBIs. Problem is the power isn't there. And I think we're at the point in the season where we can kind of expect that power not to be there. And even if it does come, it may be too little too late, but we'll talk about that in a second because we still got more to recap. Alex Verdugo had a huge series as well. He had a home run and he just has such a great home run swing. Everyone in the ballpark, everyone at home, the announcers, and even Verdugo himself know that this guy just went yard. It's a fantastic home run swing, so he had one of those in this series. He also had a double game with a multitude of RBIs, so Alex Verdugo heating up has been great to watch because he's a ton of fun to watch when he's hot. Bobby had a bomb in this one as well, and Bobby's starting to get hot a little bit too, but that's going to be an interesting kind of situation to see how Alex Cora handles. If you guys want to know more about the situation that Bobby's in, take a look at my last video. I explain all of that there. Arroyo has been absolutely fantastic for us since he's come back. He hit 500 in this series, going 6 for 12. Again, a couple RBIs, a run, and it's so good to have a guy that is finally producing offensively at that second base position. Ever since Trevor Story has gone down, it's kind of been a black hole of offense over there between Sanchez and Downs. So Arroyo coming back and adding some production to this team is fantastic. Devers had a home run in this series because of course Devers had a home run in this series. I mean, he's a perennial MVP candidate. What do you expect him to do? Even if the Red Sox are at rock bottom right now, Devers will never be. Xander also had a 4-hit game in this series as well. He continues to be a contact machine. All in all, the offense on paper looked pretty good in this series, but the problem I've been having with this offense is simply consistency. Like I said with some of these guys out here, right? We talked about JD finally getting his contact back, but that power's still missing. And at this point in the season, is it too late to expect him to turn it around? Are we at the point now where we should just expect this is going to be the JD we get this year? We talked about the fact that there was no real offensive production for what, a month at second base between the end of Story before he got hurt and Downs and Sanchez before he got Christian back. Is that too late? It just feels like this entire year we haven't had a full complete offense. I think we had a full complete offense for 3 weeks out of the 4 and some odd months that we have played in this baseball season, and that's been the problem. It's been inconsistency. It's been coupled by the fact that we cannot stay healthy on the field, but when we are on the field and the very rare occasions that we are healthy, you saw that guys weren't hitting at the level that we want them to be, and they weren't hitting at the level that we want them to be together. And to me, that is what got us here. Not the fact that people are underperforming, not the fact that we're starting to see changes in swings and stuff like that. No, it's the inconsistency as the offense as a whole to work together as a unit. And that to me has been the problem. That's why we're here right now. But it's not just the offense that has been the problem and led us to this point. So let's talk about the pitching as well, because there's definitely stuff to talk about on that side. Pivetta started game 1 in this series. He went 5, struck out 5, and allowed 3. Not an exactly a terrible performance from Pivetta. You would like to see a little bit better against a lesser team, but we were proven wrong in this Royals series in general as to the competency of this Royals team. So not a terrible start, kept him in the game. Definitely better than some of the starts we've seen recently from Nick Pivetta. Game 2, we got Josh Winkowski, who actually had a really great game. This is his second game in a row he's come out and pitched a good outing. He went 5 innings, allowed 1, and struck out 4. Maybe this is a turning point for the young rookie. The third game saw Nate Eovaldi, and he was decent. He went 6, allowed 4, and struck out 7. But I've been saying all year that that home run bug is going to bite and it's going to hurt this team, and it has hurt this team before, but I think in this game we truly saw how it hurt. We ended up getting walked off, but that home run that tied the game in the first place was kind of the nail in the coffin at that point. So Nate Eovaldi still needs to figure out that home run bug, and I think a lot of it has to do with his velo being down this year. Finally, Cutter Crawford finished this series off, and he finally came down to earth a little bit. Not in a good way either. He went 5 innings, struck out 4, and allowed 5. And this is the first time in a while that we've seen Cutter Crawford look even remotely human, and it wasn't even against a good team. So I think there's still potential there with Cutter Crawford. Just because of one bad start, I'm not going to say, that's it, you know, the experiment's over. I still think there's a lot of growth that Cutter Crawford has. So I'm not worried about Cutter, but that was definitely a tough outing. One of the most tough outings he's had in his last couple of appearances. I'm going to say this probably 20 times in this video. When we're looking at each part of this team and trying to decipher what went wrong to get to rock bottom, there are 2 things I'm going to look at: consistency and injuries. I think the 2 of those combined absolutely crumpled this team team up until this point, and the starting pitching is no different. We haven't had truly a consistent starting pitcher that we can rely on this entire year. We had Waka for a while, injured. Nate Eovaldi for a little bit, injured. Pivetta for a little bit, fell off, right? Cutter Crawford for a while, but he can tend to be off and on, and that's kind of where we've been this entire year. We had, again, that June was fantastic, but that's now a fifth of this season at this point. We're almost halfway through August. If you look at the grand scheme of things, it's just been simply consistency and injuries, and this also affected the starting rotation. As for the bullpen in this series in particular, it was kind of terrible. We saw a lot of pitchers break down in this series, starting with Darwinzon Hernandez, who I don't really understand why he's still on this team. I get it because Strom is injured, but good Lord, he is terrible. I mean, the dude can't find the strike zone to save his life. He had something like 5 or 6 walks in 3 innings. He had 9 runs allowed. He has an above 22 ERA. It's absolutely crazy what Darwinzon Hernandez is doing. But it wasn't just the guys who we kind of expect to be a little ridiculous being ridiculous in this series. John Schreiber had a rough go of it in this series. He let up a couple of runs. Austin Davis, who has been really, really great for us for a while, had a really tough time with control in this series. He gave up a couple of runs. Whitlock let up a walk-off home run. Really, the one person that I think surprised me in this series was Matt Barnes, who came out a couple of times and had some clean innings. And that's kind of where we're at with the bullpen. To say that Matt Barnes was the highlight of the series is not a good thing. When it comes to the bullpen, I think we can all agree that this has been an issue the entire year. I don't really need to go into detail about why this bullpen has helped us hit rock bottom, because I think you guys all know at this point. I mean, think about it, right? Right now, I'm at the point where there are 3 people that I trust out of that bullpen. I trust Schreiber, who gave up a couple of runs in this series. I trust Whitlock, who let up a walk-off home run in this series. And I trust Tanner Houck, who didn't even play in this series, by the way. And that's kind of where we are with the state of the bullpen, and that's kind of where we've been this entire year. And I think the main problem with this bullpen, and the reason it's helped us shoot down to rock bottom so fast, is because of the fact that it has been stagnant. Nothing has changed. All in all, you guys know I try to be as optimistic as possible about this team on this channel. I try to not be so negative because I think it's good to have hope about the teams that you cheer for. But we're at the point now where I'm recording this on Sunday. You're currently 4.5 games back. It could be worse by the time you guys are watching this. The Red Sox don't seem to have done anything to turn themselves around, and the optimism is really starting to get bleak. Is there a possibility that the Red Sox could turn the ship around? Yes, but it would have to come almost immediately, and it's at almost impossible odds, especially when you take a look at the schedule that the Red Sox have for the rest of this year. And one of the main reasons my optimism is very quickly dimming is because of the fact that throughout all of this, I have been saying you are one series sweep away from getting back into this thing. Well, now you're at the point where one series sweep, you're still probably 2 or 3 spots away from a postseason spot. And that's a scary thought because you are no longer relying on your performance alone. You are relying on the non-performance of 5 other teams, which makes it even more unlikely. If we're talking about what in total truly derailed this season and shot us down to rock bottom, I talked about inconsistency, but at the end of the day, it has to be injuries, right? We talk about, oh, this team just needs to tread water until the injured players come back, but it seemed like every time that happened and we finally got that injured player back, someone else replaced him. We're at the point now in the season where we're trying to tread water and hope that Trevor Story, Strom, Kike, Waka, all of these guys get back and help us lift us out of the hole that we've dug. But is it too late? By the time they come back, will it be too late to truly make a run at this thing? That's getting more and more likely every single day. Am I going to sit here and say that a playoff run is impossible? No. Am I going to sit here and say that at this point, I don't see the Red Sox making the playoffs? Yes. I think we have finally hit that point in this season. 5 games out about of a playoff spot. You have to leapfrog 5 singular teams, and it'll be interesting to see where the Red Sox go from here. So let me know in the comment section down below, where are you at with this Red Sox team? Have you given up all hope? Do you think that there still may be hope out there for some Red Sox players and fans? Let me know all your thoughts on this Red Sox series down below. Let me know everything down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said at the beginning, if you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well, as it helps out a ton. It would mean a lot to me. And one more thing, if you enjoy this video, make sure to share with a friend or family member who loves the Red Sox as much as you do. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.